Hi, everyone. Welcome to Look Back to Leap Ahead, Creating Balance in 2024. My name is Gretchen Griffin, and I am a holistic leadership development expert and coach. I walk alongside leaders and teams, helping them to increase not only their effectiveness, but satisfaction with their lives. I take a very holistic approach, and I bring a wisdom that comes from having walked in your shoes as well. I'm not only a leader, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a human being. So I understand the realistic challenges of being alive. And part of that is, how do we find balance? And so when we think about balance, we often think it looks something like this, right? I'm going to arrive there, I'm going to be centered and balanced, and I'll know it when I get there. I'll be solid as a rock. But the reality is, balance looks more like this. We're all a little bit pulled off center left and right by things that happen around us, whether it's wind and waves or life itself. And what balance looks like is unique to each and every person. And rather than it being a static place that we arrive at, it is these constant micro movements that we're doing to find balance. So, pulled a little bit off course, come back to center, pulled a little bit off course, come back to center. And that's what we're going to be diving in today. With that, let me tell you about the purpose. We're going to take a look at the back past of 2023 because there's so much wisdom and insight we can gain from that to help fuel and empower a more inspired and balanced 2024. We'll take a look back, we'll jump forward, then we're going to set some focus and priorities, followed by a short exploration of derailers and how you can get back in alignment throughout the year. And I'll close with a call to action. Three simple steps you can take in 3 weeks to ensure you have a solid chance at having the balance you desire in your life next year. I'm going to start off with a quote by Margaret J. Wheatley. Without reflection, we go blindly on our way, creating more unintended consequences and failing to achieve anything useful. For the purposes of our time together, I want to shift that just a little bit. Without reflection, we go blindly on our way, creating more unintended consequences and failing to achieve the balanced and inspired life we not only desire, but deserve. So, with that, let's start off by taking a look back. You're going to need your workbook that was sent as part of this recording. I'm going to refer to several of those pages throughout so that you have a chance to put me on pause while you complete the assignment that I'm about ready to put in front of you. So, in this section, we're going to reflect on 2023, envision 2024, talk about insights as you compare the past year and your year ahead, and then we'll use that to fuel the next section. So, with that, let's get started. Open up your workbook. Turn to the 2023 Wheel of Life chart. And I'd like you, as you're completing this worksheet, to think about the entirety of 2023, starting in January. Sometimes when we do these things, we tend to just think of the last few months, but there is a lot that happened January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and this month, December. So think about the whole year as you're answering these prompts. From that place, from the entirety of the year, draw a line in each of these 8 quadrants that represents your satisfaction level with each of those areas this last year in 2023. 1 is low and 10 is high. Now, you may be saying, but I didn't really achieve a whole lot in that area. That's okay. It's about satisfaction, not about what you did or didn't accomplish in each of these areas. The other thing I want to say is that some of these categories are really up to you to define. So, for example, environment. To me, environment is my home and the community that I live in and the weather outside. So, for me, that's environment. But for you, it might be something very different. So, use your own interpretation of what these mean for you as you're coming up with the rating. And then once you've categorized each of these areas, draw a connecting line to create a wheel. From that place, put me on pause right now, and then come back to me in just a moment when you've done that work. All right, I'm assuming you did the work. So here's the thing that I want to say. If you imagine that your wheel was the four wheels on your vehicle and that's what you were driving down the road with, what was your ride like in 2023? I'm wondering if it's smooth and balanced or pretty even, or if it was a little bit bumpy. So I'd like to share my own wheel with you as you reflect on the work you just did. So my wheel, it's kind of all over the place this last year. And as you look at your wheel, it's helpful to know, gosh, I'm not alone, right? Like I don't know that anybody has a perfect circle, and that's not really what it's about. It's just taking the time to assess what actually happened and how do you feel about that. So, on that note, on your wheel, pick the one area that you're most pleased with and put a smiley face next to it. And then pick the area that surprised you the most. It was like, wow, that's interesting, and put an exclamation point by it. And for the area that you think needs the most improvement in the coming year, put a star next to it. Now, keep in mind that where you put your smiley face, your exclamation point, and your star may or may not have anything to do with the number. So, for example, my smiley face could have been in an area that was low. Like, let's say I was taking a year off of work and I just needed a little bit of a break. My smiley face might be next to that if I were to look at mine because that was a choice I made. So, again, take a moment, do that now, put me on pause. All right. Now that you've taken a look at 2023, I want to share another one of my favorite quotes with you. And it's by Albert Einstein, pretty wise guy. He said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking we used when we created them." Meaning, whatever happened last year, however we look at it was based on what we allowed to have happen in our life. And so now it's time to shift from what happened to starting to think about what do we actually want to have happen. This is the visioning part. So we need to let go of 2023 just for a moment and start to drop in and imagine what 2024 might look like for us. So open up your workbook again to the 2024 Wheel of Life chart. And before you start writing, I want you to just take a moment, close your eyes, and envision what your 2024 might look or feel like. Where are you living? What are you doing? What is the emotional quality that you feel? Is it joy? Is it spaciousness? Are there things you're wanting to do next year? Don't worry about how to do them. Don't worry if you have the time, the energy, the money. Just what do you want? This is the time to really think about what do you want? How do you want to feel? Great. From that place, draw a line that represents the amount of time and energy that you are committed to investing in each of these areas in 2024 to get to that vision. So for me, if my way that I want to feel next year is spacious and fun, I probably am going to put more energy toward recreation or maybe spirituality and maybe less attention on business and career or personal growth because maybe I just want to create a little bit more space. So there's no set number or that you need to choose for any category. And remember that balance isn't always a perfect circle. There's going to be some ebbs and flows, but let it be conscious. So again, your line is going to represent the amount of time and energy you're committed to investing in each of these areas next year. You remember one is low time and energy. 10 is I'm going to put a ton of energy and time toward this. And then once you've rated each of the categories, again, connect your lines. Take a moment, put me on pause, do that right now. Awesome. So now that you're looking at your completed 2024 vision, and again, the one on the screen here is mine, I want you to think about one word that really represents how you feel about it. How do you feel about your wheel of life that you have envisioned for yourself? It could be, oh my gosh, how am I going to find the time? Maybe a little bit of overwhelm. Maybe you feel like, yeah, that looks more like balance. Whatever it is, just notice how you feel. For me, as I look at my chart, I'm like, wow, that is probably too much for me to do, and I'm starting to already feel some anxiety. So I know next year, one of the places that I really want to focus might be a driver toward the next section. So let's take a look at the focus and priorities to help take what could potentially be overwhelming and break it down into something much more manageable. We're going to talk about how do you identify just a couple of focus areas next year and then the one big priority. And then we'll spend some time thinking about how that might be applied to you. So, the first thing I'd like you to do is take and place a check mark next to the top three areas that you want or need to focus more on next year. So, remember, these have to be areas that you are committed to spending time and energy investing in. So again, take a moment, look at your wheel. Your check marks may or may not go next to your highest or lowest items. Again, where do you land? Put me on pause. All right. One of the things I want to highlight for me, I chose friends and family primarily because I want to spend a lot more time with my daughter next year and my mom. Also, health and fitness is really big for me because I find that when I focus on my health and my fitness, my business is stronger. I generate more revenue. I have more energy. So for me, health and fitness is pretty important. And the other one is my business and career because I feel really passionate about the work I'm doing, but I'm launching a whole new part of my business. And so I know it's going to take some time and energy. And now, as you look at these three areas on your own chart, you might be thinking, I don't know how I'm going to find all the time and energy to do that. So, this next section is going to help take your focus and allow you to prioritize what the one thing is that if you just focused on it more would unlock greater balance in your life. So, I'd like you again to take a look at your chart and put a heart next to the one area that holds the biggest potential for greater balance in your life and business in 2024. Put me on pause here. All right. So here's what I want to say. My heart is next to business and career, even though it's not my highest one. And here's why. I know I'm going to focus on my friends and family next year. They're important to me. I have a lot of shifts and changes coming in that category. So I don't really need to spend a lot of time and energy. And my environment is really important to me, but I moved last year. So my house is set up. I love where I live. There's not a whole lot I have to focus on there. But where I do really want to focus in 2024 is my business because I know that if I take care of my business, it's going to generate revenue. I'm going to have more time for recreation. It's going to increase my personal growth and my purpose in the world. So for me next year, it absolutely is business and career. But for you, it might be health and fitness or finances or recreation. Whatever you put your heart next to, good job. Because what I want to tell you right now, you've started to already make a difference. The difference between achieving greater balance and not achieving greater balance is 42% more likely to happen where you create balance by simply taking the time to reflect and write it down, which is what you're doing right now. So you're already almost 50% of the way there. So how can you take that 42% likelihood and increase it to 78%? Share it with other people. Tell people in your life, your family, your friends, your colleagues, what you're up to so that they can support and champion you. And then you'll be 78% likelier to create greater balance for yourself and achieve that balance that you long for in your life. So I'll share another quote, this time from Brian Tracy. A clear vision backed by definite plans, gives you a tremendous feeling of confidence and personal power. And as a business entrepreneur, that is oh so important. So, what we've done so far is we've taken time to look at the past to source wisdom and insight from that. Then we envisioned what we wanted 2024 to look like. And then we prioritized three areas of focus and picked one area that, if we just focus more time and energy on, would be a big unlock for us. In your workbook, there are some incredible worksheets to turn that one focus area, your heart, into a SMART goal, specific, meaningful, action oriented, realistic, and time driven goal that you can actually get traction on. So take time to complete the rest of those prompts in your workbook around your reflection and also your prioritization and your goal setting. It's a really, really big part of taking this from theoretical to making it practical, as Brian Tracy said. And then take that SMART goal and share it with people so you're 78% more likely to achieve it. So here we are, feeling all good, got this feeling of confidence and personal power. We're moving down the road, and then boom, something gets in the way. I like to call these derailers. And derailers, the biggest derailer in our quest for balance, really in our quest for any goal, is the intent impact gap. So let me break that down for you before I talk about how to close it. So, if you were to look at my wheels and you were to imagine that my intent in 2023 was to find this balance, right? This wheel to the left has a lot more balance. I'm really clear about where I want to focus my energy and time. That might have been my aspiration. But now I get to the end of 2023 and I look at what actually happened. It's just a snapshot, no judgment. But there's a pretty big gap between what I intended and what actually happened. And so this gap between good intentions and actual outcome has one factor in between that drives that gap. And it's called our behavior. It's what we do or do not do that determines whether we achieve our intention or not, whether we move toward our goal or away from it. And so I like to think of behavior as our consistent and persistent action that we are taking day in and day out toward our intention, toward our focus. So another way to think about this is perspiration, because it's not easy to take the behavior every day. Like if my commitment is to more health and well-being and I say I'm going to get out there and run 4 miles a day, I got to be willing to get on my shoes, go outside, regardless of what the weather is, and perspire to move toward that goal. So, again, behavior is what closes the gap between intent or impact. And also, our behavior is what creates a gap between our intent and our outcome if our behavior is not aligned with our intentions. So, I'm going to use an analogy to bring this to life because I don't want you to judge yourself. I don't want you to feel like, oh, right? It's human. It's human to do this. But I think this analogy will help bring it to life. And then I'm going to offer you 5 tools to help you get back on track when you find that maybe your behavior is not in alignment with your intentions. So let's imagine that we're hanging out. You and I are talking. We're like, oh my gosh, let's go on a road trip. So we're sitting down at a coffee shop, we pull out the map, we create our wish list, we start talking about our playlist. We're going to take this trip. Here's where we're going to stop. Here are the sites we're going to see. So that's our intention. A lot of high energy, super excited about it. Then we hit the road and we're about 100 miles out of Albuquerque, and that happens. We had all this fun planning it, but we didn't really think about getting the car tuned up or, what needed to happen. And now here we are broken down on this side of the road. So there was a pretty big gap between our intent and what actually happened. So how do you prevent this gap? How do you prevent these breakdowns from your intent and your impact? There are 5 tips I want to offer you right now. First of all, use your GPS. And in our work, your GPS is your 2024 vision, the map where you want to focus your energy and time so that you can go, yes, this is where I'm going. This is what's important to me. Here are the things that I want to do on the way. Here's how I know I'm going to be there. I can check back in with my SMART goal. So that's how you use your GPS. Now get a co-pilot. A co-pilot is like a business mentor, a coach, a friend, somebody who's going to champion you along the way when the speed bumps occur, when the unexpected occurs. And, programs like what they have at West or the Hispano Center or Arrowhead Center, there's all these great programs. So, don't feel like you have to do this alone. Get yourself a co pilot. The third thing is watch your speed and your intensity. So a lot of times you're like, oh, I'm excited, let's go. And we leave without getting the car tuned up. We get excited about a goal, but we don't think about pacing ourselves so that we can actually sustain that energy, and then we burn ourselves out. Or we're going slow, slow that we don't actually make any traction and we lose our motivation. So watch your speed and watch your intensity to find that sweet spot right in between. Not too much, not too little, what feels right for you. The fourth one is share the road. You know, being an entrepreneur and a business owner can be really lonely, and not everybody understands it. But sharing the road is about finding your community, whether it's 1 million cups or, you know, so many different communities that you can get into that understand what you're going through and can champion and support you so that you're not traveling down this road alone. So find your community and lean into it. Also, continue to go through programs and classes with Wes, just like this one. And then the last one is get a tune up. This is super important. And if I were to say, I mean, all of these are super important, but the tune up is probably the simplest thing you can do. And really, it's about scheduling time every month to check and see how you're doing against your intention for 2024. In your workbook, there are monthly reflections you can use to go in and assess, how did I do this month? How am I feeling? What might I need to pivot so that before you get too far off course, you can redirect yourself and get back in alignment. Or if something significant has changed, you can reshape your year to account for that and adjust, which would lead back to adjusting your GPS. So that's how you close the gap. Think now for just a moment before you move on. Look at your 2023, look at your 2024 and your goals that you've set. And of these 5 tips, which one would be most important for you to do? Is it leaning into West and getting that business coach? Is it scheduling your monthly check ins? Is it watching your speed or intensity? Whatever it is, just note that now. So with that, as we start to come to the close of this little mini training, I want to share another quote. This one is from Sean Patrick Flannery. He said, "The reality is most people will be in the exact same place next year as they are this year." So I'm going to encourage you to shift that by saying, don't be most people. Instead, do something today that your future self will thank you for. And the fact that you are here and you're watching this and you're working through the workbook, this is something that this year, next time, you're going to look back and be like, man, I'm so glad I did that. So this is the place to be. Don't be most people. Do something that your future self will thank you for. So let's move this from theory into action, because remember we said the gap between intent and outcome, or intent and impact, is behavior. So I'm going to go over 3 behaviors you can do over the next 3 weeks to really put a great structure in place for yourself. In week 1, before the end of this week, complete your workbook. Go through, do all the worksheets, maybe revisit them a couple times, set it aside, go back to it, scratch on it, scribble on it, whatever you need to do, but make it your own and make it valuable. And then within 2 weeks of today, I want you to share your 2024 priorities and your SMART goal with at least 3 people. Remember, 78% more likely to achieve that balance if you do that. So 3 people. And I know West would be happy to be one of those 3 people that you share that goal with, so they can give you resources and tools and support along the way. And then the last thing, right now, you could even do it, but within 3 weeks, do this. Schedule a monthly check in with yourself each month for January through December of 2024, and pull out those worksheets and assess, how are you doing? And then make the shifts and the pivots and adjustments you need to make to stay on course and find that balance. Just like those people on the beach, right? Oh, it's a process, but this check-in that you will do once a month, or you could even do it once a week, will really help you stay on balance. It's truly, truly been a delight to spend this time with you in this virtual way. And I want to close out by inviting you to connect with me. I am happy to be one of your champions or people that shares the road with you in the coming year. So schedule a complimentary 30-minute coaching session with me. Share with me what you came up with in your workbook. Let's talk about that. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn and follow what I'm doing. And if something seems of interest to you, sign up for that too. And you can always email me if you prefer that. Again, it's truly been a delight, and I'm so honored that West allowed me to come in and share this little bit of nugget with you. I wish you all an amazing holiday season and a truly, truly incredible 2024. Again, my name is Gretchen Griffin. I appreciate you.